We are going to have a look now at a message sent into Aaron's campaign. I'm just going to bring it up onto the screen here. It's from Chris. And I'll just read out the message and then we'll have a more in-depth look at it. Chris says, having followed this campaign for a while, I would like to express my belief of what happened. Aaron was known to the Gardaí for separate reasons in the case in question. He was part of the team. He was Raider 2, the 5'7" man. He was not the shooter and is not guilty of murder. He went to America, and knowing himself he was not the murderer, he may have felt comfortable to say he was involved in a robbery gone wrong. This story may have grown legs as it travelled, and others may have said he was heard saying he was the gunman. This was used against him by corrupt authorities who were unable to build a case against the shooter. Used whatever leverage they had on witnesses against Aaron to get him to say they heard him say he was the shooter instead of just being present at the robbery. He is a scapegoat of the case and the only one they could build a case on, and the pressure of needing a murder conviction led to corruption conspiracy. Would love to hear your response to this, Tony. I believe your son is innocent of capital murder. So, although this seems a relatively innocuous message sent in here by Chris, it is a narrative that has been pushed forward on Aaron's social media platforms. And to all intents and purposes, as I say, it might seem quite innocuous, but it's actually very, very detailed, very in-depth, and it covers the whole aspect of where we are with Aaron's campaign and indeed where the Irish nation is in respect of Aaron's innocence. Now, the first thing about these texts, not only Chris is a little bit more timid, shall we say, because of his admission that Aaron's not the shooter and all that. But there have been other similar messages. So the first thing here that must be highlighted immediately. Now, we said we're going to call down all these questions and scenarios and narratives. We believe this is a little narrative that's been pushed forward on social media platforms. See how people respond to it, and then the mainstream media might sort of go down this road. So the first thing about this message, and messages similar to it, it shows total, complete, utter, disgusting disrespect for the man who lost his life at Lordship Credit Union, Detective Garda Adrian Donohoes. So let's see, in essence, what this whole message is saying. This message is saying, oh, Aaron didn't shoot Garda Donohoes, but it doesn't really matter, he was there, and to all intents and purposes, it doesn't really matter who shot Detective Garda Adrian Donohoes. For heaven's sake, people, when you send in messages like this, please have some respect for a man who lost his life in the line of duty, albeit you are trying to cover not only the inadequacies, but the corruption and collusion and the dirtiest of dirty tricks played by Pat Murray, Mark Phillips, Brendan Graham, Lochan Steen, the DPP, the DPP solicitors, and indeed our whole judicial system. So that's the very, very first point, and I think the basis for these text messages coming through. And we do believe it's some sort of a feeler to see if the public or indeed the Brady campaign would run with this narrative. We most certainly will not run with this narrative. We totally and completely disagree with what you're saying, Chris. And we say again, it is abhorrent what you are doing to the man whose life was taken at Lordship Credit Union. It is as simple as this. And then your theory put forward in this thesis that Aaron Brady was the second gunman at 5'7", and just we not worry about who the murderer is. So let's have a look at your theory and your thesis. So obviously there would have to be some form of evidence. Chris, you've followed the campaign. We've shown you quite clearly that the only evidence at the scene of the murder and robbery, the only evidence is that Aaron Brady was not there, could not have been there, had nothing to do with the murder of Detective Garda Adrian Donohoes. We're going to very briefly run through the evidence that was there. And you can see here, a blonde woman, the senior credit union worker, Mary, told us that there was a blonde driver of the car. I've said this before. In her short statement, she says she, her, stupid bitch. She uses the female adjectives over 50 times in a 2-page statement. And even back in February, March this year, in the trial of James Flynn and Brendan Traynor, she reiterated that it was a blonde woman driving the vehicle. There's no issue with that. There's no ambiguity. It was a blonde woman driving the car. And here we have it. Aaron Brady has no connection whatsoever to any blonde woman. There could be no one with all the serious intenseness of this investigation. No blonde woman could be linked to Aaron Brady. And obviously with all the interactions on phones and every move scrutinised, if there was a blonde woman who was driving that car, had any connection with Aaron Brady in the previous 12 months to the murder and robbery, that would have been found. Now, Brendan Graham, on numerous occasions, threw out different women's names in a disgusting and pathetic attempt to suggest that these girls were connected to Aaron Brady. One, Brendan Graham knew that the girl was driving around Dundalk after getting hair extensions done. She was in Dundalk at the time Detective Garda Adrian Donohoes lost his life in Lodge. Then Graham, disgusting, pathetic attempt. He knew a girl whose name he threw out into the ether in front of the jury. That girl was undergoing chemotherapy at the time of the murder and robbery at Lordship Credit Union. And then he tried to suggest that then Aaron's then girlfriend was a blonde girl and she may have been the driver, but she couldn't drive. So this is evidence, strong evidence, fact. Female driver can be no link to Aaron Brady. Then we move on. There was footprints found. You can see here on the picture, there's 4 dots there behind the wall, says footprints. Those footprints there was moulds and casts taken of those footprints. They were sent to a number of places in Europe, forensic laboratories in Europe. They were tested here also in Phoenix Park and Aaron's forensic labs. And there was certain sizes and certain types of footwear identified. And guess what, Chris? None of them could be linked to Aaron Brady. So that's proof positive that Aaron Brady was almost certainly, he was not behind the wall. Then we move on to the, again, very, very important, vital part. Bernadette, as you can see here, was a credit union worker. Her car was attacked by the robbers and they broke her side window as she sat in the car. The raider who attacked her car was roaring and shouting at Bernadette. And when Bernadette was being debriefed and getting her, giving her statement to the guards, she was being interviewed by a member of the Garda Síochána who had a Dublin accent. He shouted at her, "Give us the fucking money," in a Dublin accent, and Bernadette agreed, yes. That matches the accent that shouted at me when I was attacked in the car park at Lordship Credit Union at 9:30 on the 25th of January 2013. And lo and behold, yet again, no Dublin person, gangster or anyone from Dublin can be linked to Aaron Brady. And obviously if Aaron Brady was involved in some way, and he was involved with a blonde woman, he was involved with a man with a Dublin accent, those people would have been identified. Because everything was scrutinised to the nth degree. We've been told that on numerous occasions. Graham told us over 1 million sheets of paper, 70,000 hours of CCTV. And that was all just thrown out there to hide the lies, the corruption, the collusion and the deceit by the Irish authorities. And any suggestion that there is no forensic evidence at the scene of the Morden robbery is incorrect. There was also, as you can see here, there was DNA found on the inside door of Garda Síochána's car. Again, absolutely no connection whatsoever to Aaron Brady. And those 4 points we've just mentioned there, again, none of those 4 points that the evidence was found, the blonde woman, the footprints, the DNA, the Dublin accent, none of them could either have, none of those 4 could also have been linked to Brendan Traynor or James Flynn. These 2 men have been acquitted of being involved in the Morden robbery at Loadshill Credit Union because they weren't there. And anyone who's been following the case and was following the mainstream media, though Brendan Traynor and James Flynn was mentioned continuously, every day in Aaron's trial. Every day that those 3 men were there. And that was always the problem. There was no gang. They never had the 4-man, 1-woman gang. Never had them. They never existed. But as I say, the 4 points we've mentioned, not applicable to Aaron Brady, not applicable to Brendan Traynor, not applicable to James Flynn. So the notion that Aaron Brady was the second raider of 5'7" holds no water. In fact, it is a complete and utter fallacy. It is impossible. Totally, completely impossible. And I'm just going to break down some of your text again. Aaron was known to the Gardaí for separate reasons to the case in question. Quite possible. Aaron, he was known to the Garda Síochána. He had racked a number of cars in Dundalk and was involved in a court case with Garda Síochána. Absolutely nothing whatsoever got to do. You're 100% right with the Morden robbery at Loadshill Credit Union. Now this is the important bit, Chris, that you're just throwing out there, and others have thrown this out, and this is vitally important. The Irish public understand this, so it cannot be perpetrated again upon innocent people. He was part of a team. He was Raider 2, the 5'7" man. He was not the shooter and is not guilty of murder. He was part of the team is the important bit here. I'll reiterate again, once again, James Flynn was driving around the square across the Glen at the time of the Morden robbery at Loadshill Credit Union. Brendan Traynor was at home. He used his IP address, his computer, and he was at home at the time of the Morden robbery at Loadshill Credit Union. And these 5 pictures that was put up very early on in the investigation, and Pat Marry was leaking him, and Pat Marry and Sergeant John Maroney, who made a complete and absolute mess of the initial investigation. These 2 men, we believe, were the ones who made a complete mess of it. So these 2 men aren't part of it. So we have a situation where one man, our son Aaron, has been convicted of a crime that 4 men and 1 woman at least, and almost certainly there was other people involved in logistics or whatever outside of those 5 people that were captured on CCTV. And yet nobody, no other raider can be linked to Aaron Brady. It's complete and utter nonsense. It is a fallacy. And people have to stand up and see it for what it is. So you slipping in there, as you can see at the bottom, he was part of a team. There is no team. And I've said it before, it's the same as Mo Salah running out for Liverpool on his own. Can't be done. Messi, at his best, at his very best, running out for Barcelona, could not win a game completely on his own. Ronaldo, when he played for Manchester United, could not win 1 game on his own. And even now, David Clifford, probably one of the greatest geniuses we've seen for many years in GA, cannot go out and win a game on his own for Kerry. There has to be a team. And we take that team synopsis back to what happened in Lordship Credit Union car park. There is no team linked to Aaron Brady. It is so simple. It's ridiculous. And I say once again, Chris, we're not allowing this narrative to be tested and thrown out there. You go on to say, he went to America and knowing himself he was not the murderer, he may have felt comfortable to say he was involved in the robbery gone wrong. That was never mentioned. You're just making stuff up. You're getting worse than Brendan Graham and Logan Stain. And indeed, Judge Tony Hunt. Just making stuff up as you go along that sort of suits. It makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense whatsoever. The story may have grown legs as it travelled, and others may have said he was heard saying he was the gunman. Where are you going? You just can't make this stuff up, Chris. This story may have grown legs as it travelled. Where did the story travel from? Where is the origin of the story? When we travel somewhere, there must be an origin and a destination. We have no origin, because we know there's nothing, only criminals that were arrested that give testimony against Aaron. Daniel Cahill, Christopher Morton, Anthony Maguire, Ronan and Matt Flaherty, all drug dealers. Every fucking last one of them. Drug dealers, illegal immigrants and criminals. So none of those stories ever originated with Aaron Brady because he never said the words. And others may have said he was heard saying he was the good one, and others may have said this. Who are these others? Are you just plucking stuff out of the air? We cannot allow it to happen, Chris, because it is factually incorrect. It makes no sense, and we will not allow this narrative. This was used against him by corrupt authorities who were unable to build a case against the shooter. Again, you're showing total disrespect for the man who lost his life. And the authorities did do this because they couldn't build a case against Aaron, James Flynn or Brendan Traynor, which has been proven in court. And they were caught out of their lives in the most recent case. Used whatever leverage they had on witnesses against Aaron to get them to say they heard him say he was the shooter instead of just being present at the robbery. Again, Chris, this is all makey-uppy stuff. And it is, again, just pathetic that the shooters just passed to one side, that you think it's not a relevance. The man who took Adrian Donohoe's life. Because it makes no sense to go with this narrative other than to cover up. You're sort of admitting there was a wee bit of collusion, corruption by the authorities, but he was there. But we now worry about who shot Garda Adrian Donohoes. That's not happening. It's up to the Gardaí in the incident room in Fort Apache Dundalk to find out who shot and murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donohoes. He is a scapegoat of the case and the only one that could build a case on, and pressure of needing a murder conviction led to the corruption and conspiracy. Would love to hear your response on this, Tony. I believe your son is innocent of capital murder. Again, a whole lot of information in that last paragraph. Again, seems relatively innocuous. And I could go into more detail on it. But just that the last bit. I believe your son is innocent of capital murder. We are of the opinion, because that contradicts what you're after saying in the earlier part of this text, this message to us. And again, it's a narrative we're not going to allow to gather legs and run with. The 5 people who were involved in the robbery and murder at Lordship Credit Union are guilty, in our eyes, are guilty of capital murder. Each and every one of the 5 of them. Because the 5 people who, the 4 men behind the wall and the woman driving the car, went to a credit union car park armed with loaded weapons. So they are all, each and every one of them are guilty of the murder of Detective Garda Adrian Donohoes. And indeed that beggars the question of why on James Flynn's extradition warrant from England, he wasn't to be charged with the murder of Detective Garda Adrian Donohoes, because way back in 2022, on Garda Síochána knew James Flynn had nothing to do with it. And they actually specifically put it on his extradition warrant. So if you could explain that to me, Chris. So that is where we do thank you, Chris, for your interaction and sending the question. And I hope you can understand our response to you, and it may be an innocent response and the way you view the situation. Messages like this, we think, can be somewhat sinister, and it's either the mainstream media poking and testing how far they can go with creating a new narrative, or indeed someone in Garda Síochána just testing and probing to see how far they can push their narrative. Because Graham, Stain and the DPP have no other choice only to change tack. And there's no doubt about it, they will be looking for an exit strategy to save face as much as is possible. But we will not allow that to happen. Pat Murray, Garda Kenna, Sergeant John Maroney, Mark Phillips, Karen Coughlin, all the Gardaí that told lies on the road, Garda James Carlin, who found James Flynn's car, knew it was on the CCTV footage, and then in a pathetic attempt in court, tried to draw back on what he had said and what he had seen. But we have other images and very important information that Garda Carlin seen at other sites. More information that was hidden from us, and that will be dealt with in due course. And of course, the two men who made a complete and utter mess of this case, Sergeant John Maroney and Inspector Pat Murray, who have destroyed the lives of several families because of their blundering inadequacies and gone down the wrong rabbit hole back in January and early February 2013. So once again, Chris, thank you for your interaction. Please continue to follow. If you have anything to come back with in response of, in reply to our reply to you, please feel free to do so, in case there's something we have missed. And if, for anyone, we do have a few more questions to reply to, but this is one that's very important. We're not allowing this narrative to be tested on the Irish public because it's disgusting. There's going to be no side doors, back doors or trap doors for the Irish authorities. Once again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you shortly in the next video. Thank you.